Hello everyone, I'm Joseph Roberson, aka Professor Joe with Keasuc Hill, and this is the Professor Joe Show, and we are doing our afterlife segment. Before we started, what I wanted to do is give Key, I kind of wanted to share with them a brief understanding of my vision and the vision we talked about, and express to you, my brother, how much I appreciate you and tell you why, and which I think you already know, but I want other people to know, okay? So, you know, I've been blessed that I have this a wonderful life that I'm deeply appreciative for. That being said, at various points in my life, I've demonstrated poor discretion and judgment, and I've had to deal with the consequences of that on some level of another. And at the same time, for various reasons, some beyond my control, I'm blessed to be in a wonderful situation that I appreciate waking up to every day. Right. Sometimes people pretend that it's like my ego. If I feed into my ego, I want to believe that, you know, society is a meritocracy and I'm where I'm at as a result of my hard work, you know, work ethic, and my wise, thoughtful decisions. And then at the same time, I can accept that that isn't the most accurate depiction of reality. So therefore, based on my appreciation for my blessings, and knowing that I've been able to position life for myself and my family where I'm removed from a lot of the daily issues that persons from my community have to go through, you know, I just know that I still bear an obligation. I kind of want to use the word moral obligation, right? But for me, and based on my relationship with the universe and my creator, that I don't just sit around and watch other people suffer while I feel like I'm sitting off as removed as possible. Not that things can't find you and issues can't find you, right, but removed from just the daily rigors of life that many people from my background experience, and not do nothing, not say anything. And so therefore I had to figure out a way that allows me to still be who I am, right? And still speak to the issues that I think need to be addressed. And one of the reasons, you know, segue into why I appreciate you is because, you know, I've shared with you on multiple occasions that I needed someone to participate with me who had a like mind of, hey, I want to speak up about certain issues, who also feels an obligation to contribute back to the community, but who has also lived a real life that has positioned them. Now, I'm going to let you share the details of your background, but what I wanted to say before you do that is this, man. You've given a significant amount of your life to the prison system, okay? Mm-hmm. But when you came home, you were clear in thought. I have other friends who've had similar experiences, but may come home and I see that there was some level of arrested development. Like, okay, you're not in a position to really give things to people or information that is edifying to the soul because you still on an emotional and psychological level where you were at when you left, and you're not coming back prepared or even desiring to share a positive message with people or give people, like your messages tell these youngsters that they need to go harder. You feel what I'm saying? And I get that and I respect it, right? In one sense. At the same time, that's not the message I'm delivering, right? I also appreciate that, my brother, with everything that I've ever witnessed you do it with enough integrity that it allows you to speak on things where people can't really question you as it relates to some matters, and we can go into more detail as to what those things are. But, you know, I really needed you to know, because I'm at a stage in my life where I can remove my ego and my need to posture myself a certain way, and I can tell the people in my life who I love and appreciate how much I appreciate them, my brother, and how much they are necessary in my life. So that's why a lot of times when we talk on the phone too, I tell you, like, man, I miss you, I need you, where you at, man, you know? Right. Because every time I'm seeing something happen in society, I'm feeling like I'm failing in my obligation to speak in a timely fashion, and that's one more life lost. and maybe the message I desired to deliver could have prevented that. Maybe not. You're right. I don't want to be grandiose in my thinking, but I still have to meet my obligation to do it.
Right.
And that being said, that's what I'd like people to know about what I desire to do, and also how I feel about you, my king.
Right. Heart's in the right place. That's the thing. We live in a society where people have they have their hearts in the wrong places.
Okay.
And some people don't even have a heart anymore. Whether or not it was broken, whether it was tampered with, whether trauma, whatever the case may be, we are living in a heartless society.
Right.
And partially, I think a lot of that is because of everything is so fast. Relationships are fast. Everything is, the word I'm looking for is not superficial, but the kind of food we eat now. What is the kind of food? A lot of it is
I'm lost.
It's fake.
Okay. Synthetic.
That's
okay,
the word I'm looking for.
I got you. Yeah. It's fabricated food.
Yes.
Right,
we live in a synthetic society.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yes.
Everything is not what it is.
Right,
Everybody wants to be other than who they are.
Right.
And when you pretend to be somebody other than who you are for so long, you begin to forget who you are.
Right.
And as human beings, we've forgotten our humanity.
Right.
Forget the culture. Forget the ethnicity, forget all of the other isms that define who we are, or we believe to define who we are. On the basic level, human level, humanity, our basic humanity, we've forgotten that. And we don't even discuss what it was that made us human.
Give me an example when you say we've forgotten our humanity.
Okay. For example, well, one, you got to understand. For you to understand humanity, you got to have it taken away. That's first and foremost. It's kind of like appreciation of life.
Yeah.
You say you appreciate life, but until you've seen someone, die in front of you, or you've been put in a situation where it was maybe or possibly your last.
Hey, I'm gonna take it a step further. Not only been put in a situation, put myself in that situation.
Yes, oftentimes, and it goes both ways, because it don't. Oftentimes, putting yourself in that situation is only based on the limited choices you have.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can say, I put myself in that situation, but I only had
these options. I only had these options.
Exactly.
Or even if I had other options, because some people could argue, well, you had other options. Yes, but based on even the information being fed to me, I perceive these to be my only options. And therefore my perception became my reality.
Crucial. What we're talking about is perception.
Right.
But back to our humanity.
Right.
I was raised in prison. Literally. Raised in prison. So when people say I was institutionalized, I'm talking about I started from foster care. I was in and out of courtrooms determining whether or not my parents was fit or unfit, or who custody I would be in.
Right.
And then I went from there to the juvenile detention. First offense, murder. So when I say, I did exactly what I did.
Right.
In fact, I was writing.
Did you just say, you said first offense?
My first offense. I had never been arrested. I had never been fingerprinted.
Okay.
Any of it. And my first offense, my first criminal crime was murder.
Wow.
So, but it was things that led up to that. And that's one of the things I think is necessary for us to touch on.
Okay.
But I wrote a poem coming down.
Just so y'all know, FYI, my peoples is a poet.
Yes.
So you will hear some of the poetry over the course of the Professor Joe show.
This one was called, and it's short, but it was everything, And I'll talk about my poetry in a minute, because it makes up a major part of who I am. Okay. It's called Vicious, And I said, there was a time when I was young, I was vicious with a gun. But what got me life was my being even more vicious with a knife. Rightfully, they caged me in, then ripped apart my flesh to discover something vicious within. A man more vicious with a pen. You see?
I hear a couple of different messages in there. Share the message, now, please.
It's obvious. I grew up a gang member. Lots of times we look for the hidden messages, but it's actually clearer than it says. When I was young, I was vicious with a gun.
Right.
I shot that gun. A lot of people talk
Okay.
about it and put it on Instagram now.
Okay.
This is the 80s when we really were living out. I mean, shootouts up close is how our names were given.
Real quick,
You know.
hey, one day, we need to discuss that, my brother. Not in a condescending way, not in a disparaging way, because it's not just the activity, it's the current culture of you're putting this on social media.
Yeah.
And so I won't go too deep into the moment, but there's this condemnation for snitching, but the irony is you telling on yourself because you're engaging in these behaviors and you're putting it on social media, and the desire for likes is
let me show you
fueling
how
the desire
deep
to do
this goes.
Okay, go ahead.
It goes deeper than you got the president right now of the United States of America being investigated and possibly taken up for criminal activity, and he's getting on social media.
He's the mad tweeter.
He's telling on himself. He's saying I'm not guilty of this, but at the exact same time, he's saying I'm doing this. On social media, and he can't help it.
So at some
you're
point,
incriminating yourself. You can't help it. Everybody is so desperate to be seen.
So we got to discuss
to
that.
be heard.
Because we all want to matter.
We all
desire some level of attention. But how about this? And again, I don't want to, because I want to get back to what you're talking about. But at some point, if it's not healthy, if it's not good attention, then is it truly desirable? The poem. No, I don't want to miss that. I don't want to miss that.
Well, like I said, when I was young, I was vicious with it. I said I was vicious, and I was. I shot the gun.
Right.
I said I gangbang. But what got me a life sentence, 15 years to life, was that I was even more vicious with the knife, because I committed my crime with a knife. You see?
Yeah.
And I said, they caged me in, rightfully. They caged me in because I had that rage in me. Mm-hmm. See, and that's the thing. I don't blame gangs or the streets for me being where I was. Not at all. Okay. I blame rage for me being in that, because that's where I was. That was the reality that I lived in as a child. One, I was a child, meaning that I had underdeveloped, reasoning.
Right.
My brain was underdeveloped. My reasoning, all of that is. I've only, and you got to think, if I'm 16, that means I only have really 6 years of any type of cognitive responsibility
and at 16,
and life experience.
And I'm not. This isn't just about you, especially since I work with people in their generally late teens, early 20s. You're a young adult, and at the same time, at 16, 17, 18. You're just a baby as it really relates to this world. You're a young adult and you're a young man or woman in the sense you will be held accountable for what you do, and there's consequences to your actions. But my brother, as someone who sits here and works with people at 17, 18, 19, 20 every day, and that's all I do, man, they're just babies.
That goes back
thinking,
to our humanity, though. Because see, in any type of traditional human type of development, no matter how far you go back, no matter what culture it is, there was a place for the youth. We sent them through a rites of passage.
Yeah.
In fact, there's an African proverb that says...
I'm sorry, man. We got to talk about that one day. Rites of passage.
You can't keep cutting me off like that.
No, my bad.
My bad.
Okay, my bad. I'll stop. You just giving me a lot.
There was a rites of... all cultures had a rites of passage.
Right.
And in this rites of passage, the youth had a place.
Right.
And there's a proverb that say, it takes a village to raise a child. Yeah. Invite them in, or they'll burn the village down. See, we only hear the part, it takes a village to raise a child, and then we cut it off. But there's another part to it. That's not the whole proverb. The entire proverb is, invite them in, or they'll burn the village down. You have to give them a place, because in society, adolescence is a fiery stage. It's a stage that's transforming. It's like they're going through a cocoon. You're going from child to adolescence. Your body's changing. Hormones are changing. Things are changing. The world around you is changing drastically. And if we don't, as human beings, establish a place for the youth during those times, then it is not the responsibility of the child
At all.
if the place burns down,
At all.
but the responsibility of the elders and the adults who
Right.
knew and had, clear understanding of what was coming, what they were doing
Yeah.
and what was coming. And in the 80s, they started to build prisons and fill them up with youth. See, when we talk about gangs and all of these things, we forget that gangs were founded by youth. Tookie, Raymond Washington, Puddin, all of these guys were teenagers.
Right.
16, 17. They don't put those in the books. They show them big buff men in the prison, you know what I'm saying? And you get this stigma, this image of this monster. You know what I'm saying?
It's the imagery you're being fed.
It's the imagery you're being fed. So, but what you're not seeing is these were kids. You see what I'm saying? These were children. Whereas if it was properly guided and properly, they were properly guided and educated, and that fire in them was properly nurtured, what could they have become? If you can found the street gangs that has made itself onto the continent of Africa,
Yeah.
what could he have accomplished? What could they have accomplished?
Infinite potential.
Infinite potential.
Yeah.
But the objective was not to nurture infinite potential.
Right.
The objective was to squash
Right.
infinite potential. That's the truth.
Right.
And sometimes we're afraid to say that. Because we say we want the truth. We say we want change. But nobody wants to change. And nobody wants to receive the truth.
Especially
even if it's against yourself.
Especially anyone benefiting from the status quo. Right? But the irony of that is this: even people who suffer have difficulty desiring change.
It's a disorder. Oppression is a disorder. It's trauma. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You can go to any type of psychologist and they're going to tell you about post-traumatic stress.
Right.
Post-traumatic stress. Trauma doesn't mean something exploded. It don't have to be something exploded.
Right.
It can be witnessing abuse.
Yeah.
It could be a child watching his father beat his mother.
Right.
This is something traumatic that they carry into who they are as human beings.
So I'm going to tell you can I tell you some of my traumas from a kid? Outside of just because you mentioned it, right? Outside of certain things that happen within the home. One of my traumas was getting on a public metro to go to school and having people from various neighborhoods that the bus passed through get on the bus looking for anyone who wasn't from that neighborhood in between those 3 stops, and being a kid. You feel me? I played basketball all the time in the projects that I wasn't from. You feel me? Though, in one sense, though, I appreciate that because I developed into a certain way based on that. But those were still contributions to my trauma. Hey, watching the people who cared about me and who were my friends still jump on random people walking through our neighborhood, those are still traumas, my brother.
All of it. It's traumatic.
And again, there's ways I've benefited from it, and at the same time, I still recount those stories like, oh wow, that was traumatizing in a sense, because it was terrifying at that moment.
Yes.
Right. But I hear that. Hey,
and you carried it. And that's the thing. And you still carry it.
I'll say on some level, I still do, even though I can analytically process it. There's still responses I have based on that. Hey, before I forget, the last part of your poem,